My wife spoke one word before she died, just one. And that single word destroyed 44 years of what I thought was a good marriage. I'm 76 years old.
And I'm about to tell you what that word was, but first, you need to understand why it matters.
My wife spoke one word before she died. Just one. And that single word destroyed 44 years of what I thought was a good marriage. I'm 76 years old, and I'm about to tell you what that word was. But first, you need to understand why it matters. Everything you think you know about being a good husband is probably wrong. I know because I spent 4 decades getting it completely backwards. I provided everything. I was faithful. I worked 70-hour weeks to give her the life she deserved. And on her deathbed, when I finally had the chance to hear her say she loved me one last time, she said something else entirely. What happened in that hospital room 3 months ago changed everything I thought I knew about love, marriage, and what actually matters when you're facing the end. But here's the thing, I'm making this video because I'm running out of time to share this truth. Not for me, for you. Because if you're making the same mistake I made, you still have time to fix it. I didn't. Linda was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer on a Tuesday morning in March. We'd been married 44 years. The doctor gave her 6 months. She lasted 4. And in those final 4 months, I finally started paying attention to the woman I'd been living with for 44 years, but never really knew. The hospice nurse said I should talk to her, even in those final days when she could barely keep her eyes open, so I did. I told her about the house, about our investments, about how I'd make sure everything was taken care of. I told her she didn't need to worry about anything. I held her hand and promised her that I'd be fine. She squeezed my hand weakly. Her eyes opened just slightly, and then she spoke. One word, just one. Not love, not thank you, not my name. The word she chose, with what little strength she had left, was the most devastating thing I've ever heard. But before I tell you what it was, you need to understand the 44 years that led to that moment. Leave a comment if you've ever felt like you were there, but not really there with someone you love. You're not alone in this. Here's what I believed for 44 years: being a good husband means being a good provider. Put food on the table. Keep the bills paid. Make sure your wife never has to worry about money. That's what my father did. That's what every man in my generation was taught to do, and I did it better than most. I made partner at my firm by 38. We bought the house in the suburbs when I was 42. We took vacations, good ones, expensive ones. Linda never worked after we got married. She didn't have to. I took care of everything. That was the deal. That was what love looked like, or so I thought. What nobody tells you is that providing isn't the same as being present. I was home every night by 7:30, well, most nights. Weekends, I was there. Physically, at least. But emotionally, mentally, I was always somewhere else. Running through work problems in my head. Thinking about the next deal, planning the next promotion. I thought I was building a life for us. What I was actually doing was building a life for me and expecting her to live in it. Linda never complained, not once in 44 years. She smiled when I came home late. She listened when I talked about work. She kept the house perfect, raised our 2 kids mostly alone, and never once made me feel like I was doing something wrong. And that was the problem. She adapted to my absence so completely that I never realized I was absent at all. I had a friend named Tom who died at 63. Heart attack, massive. He was gone before the ambulance arrived. At his funeral, his son gave a eulogy that I still think about. He said, "My father was a successful man. He built a company from nothing, but I never really knew him. And now I never will. That sentence hit me hard. Not because I saw myself in it, I didn't. Not yet, but because I felt bad for Tom. Poor guy worked his whole life and his own son barely knew him. I remember thinking, that won't be me. I'm different. I'm home every night. What I didn't realize was that Tom and I were exactly the same. We were both there without being present. We both confused provision with love. My father died when I was 47, lung cancer. He lasted 6 weeks after diagnosis. In the hospital, toward the end, he looked at me and said, "I should have taken your mother to Paris. She always wanted to go." I kept saying later. There is no later. I nodded, squeezed his hand, and filed that advice away. Then I went right back to work and kept postponing everything, just like he did. The irony is brutal now. I heard the lesson. I understood the lesson. But I didn't learn the lesson. Linda's mother died 7 years ago. Alzheimer's. She spent the last 3 years in a memory care facility, not recognizing anyone. I watched Linda visit her mother 3 times a week, even though her mother didn't know who she was. I asked her once why she kept going. She said, "Because she's still here. And when she's gone, I wish I'd gone more." I didn't understand what she meant. Now I do. Have you ever ignored advice that later proved to be exactly what you needed? When Linda got diagnosed, everything stopped. No more work. No more deals, no more meetings. I took a leave of absence. For the first time in 44 years, I was fully present. And what I discovered in those 4 months changed me more than the previous 4 decades combined. We talked, really talked. Not about bills or schedules or plans, about memories, about regrets, about the life we'd lived together but somehow separately. She told me things I never knew. How lonely she'd been in that big house while I was building my career. How she'd cried herself to sleep more times than she could count. How she'd learned to stop expecting me to really see her. I asked her why she never said anything. Why she never told me she was unhappy. She smiled, that same smile I'd seen 1,000 times but never really looked at, and said, "I did tell you. You just never heard me." And she was right. I hadn't, because I wasn't listening. I was there, but I wasn't there. In those final weeks, I learned more about my wife than I had in the previous 44 years. Her favorite color was actually purple, not blue. She'd always wanted to learn piano but never mentioned it because I was too busy. She'd kept a journal for 30 years, boxes of them in the attic filled with thoughts and feelings she could never share with me because I was never really available to hear them. The transformation wasn't sudden. It was gradual, painful, and too late. By the time I finally showed up emotionally, she was leaving physically. And that's when I realized the devastating truth: I'd wasted 44 years standing next to someone I never really knew. If you're watching this and you're under 60, listen carefully. Your wife doesn't need a bigger house. She doesn't need a nicer car. She doesn't need more money in the bank. She needs you. Actually you. Not the version of you that's physically present while mentally absent. Not the you that's thinking about work during dinner. The real you. I see young couples now, and I want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them. The husband's on his phone during date night. The wife's talking, and he's nodding but not hearing. They're making the same mistake I made. They think they have time. They think they'll connect later, after the promotion, after the house is paid off, after retirement. But later never comes. Or it comes too late. My son is 39. He's making the same mistakes I made, working 80 hours a week. Tells me he's doing it for his family. His wife is lonely. I can see it in her eyes. She looks exactly like Linda looked 30 years ago. I've tried to tell him. I've tried to warn him. He nods, says he understands, then goes right back to work. Just like I did when my father tried to warn me. Here's what nobody tells you about marriage. It's not about the big gestures. It's not about the vacations or the jewelry or the nice dinners. It's about the small moments, the conversations, the presence, the attention. It's about actually seeing the person you're with, not just looking at them. You know what kills marriages? It's not affairs or money problems or big dramatic fights. It's slow, quiet neglect. It's being there without being there. It's 44 years of polite distance. It's assuming that because you're not fighting, everything's fine. It's mistaking peace for happiness. Your marriage doesn't die in a day. It dies slowly, over years, one missed moment at a time. One conversation you didn't really hear. One evening you spent on your phone instead of connecting. 1 year where you were roommates instead of partners. And then one day you wake up and realize you've been living with a stranger. Or worse, they die, and you realize you never really knew them at all. I'm 76 years old. If I'm lucky, maybe 10 more years. Maybe 15 if I'm blessed. But Linda's gone. And I can't get those 44 years back. I can't go back and have the conversations I should have had. I can't go back and really listen. I can't go back and be present. All I can do is tell you what I learned too late. Presence is the only gift that actually matters. Stop working so much. Stop being busy. Stop postponing connection until later. Start now, today, right now. Put your phone down. Look at your spouse. Really look. Ask them how they're feeling. And then shut up and actually listen to the answer. Don't fix it. Don't solve it. Don't think about your response. Just listen. Just be there, fully there. Look, I don't have much time left to share these truths. If this touched your heart, hit the like button. It shows me these stories are helping someone. And subscribe here below to receive every new lesson. So what was the word, the last word my wife spoke before she died? You've been waiting to hear it. And I'm going to tell you. But first, understand this, it wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. It was just honest. Brutally, devastatingly honest. I was holding her hand. The hospice nurse had just left. It was just the two of us in that room, like it should have been for 44 years, but never really was. I leaned in close. I told her I loved her. I told her she was the best thing that ever happened to me. I told her I was grateful for every moment. She opened her eyes, looked right at me, used the last bit of strength she had left, and whispered one word, finally. Finally, that's what she said. And in that one word, I understood everything. Finally, you're here. Finally, you're present. Finally, you're seeing me. Finally, after 44 years, after it's too late, you showed up. Finally, I broke. Right there, completely broke. Because she was right. It had taken her dying for me to finally be the husband I should have been all along. And now she was leaving, and I'd never get another chance. Don't wait for finally. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until the diagnosis or the funeral or the devastating last word. Be present now. Be there now. Love them now. While you still can. While they're still here. While there's still time. This truth took me decades to learn. If it can help someone else,